So I work as a software engineer in New York City, and that's pretty nice just because you earn a good amount of money and then you can spend it on clothes. Not really, but so I only go into the office about once a week, and initially it was nice because obviously I can just stay home 4 days out of the week and not have to go into the office or a long commute to the city. But at the same time, it means I can't really wear clothes. That's pretty annoying, especially when you're trying to try out different outfits and you just can't because you're just at home 4 days out of the week. I guess you could say just wear clothes at home, but it's just not the same. And yeah, I think because of that, it's hard for me to progress in my taste, understand truly what I like and what I don't like when I wear it. I think it takes wearing it out and seeing how you feel in it before you realize whether you like it or not. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but yeah, I just want to see maybe if anyone else can relate to that, since a lot of companies, they still have you working at home from COVID times. I just want to take this video to talk about some trend predictions. Not just what I think trends are going to be, but also some commentary on what trends are like today and whether I think they're going to keep going or not. I guess before I start, I'll give a trigger warning, since all of these things I'm saying are ultimately just my opinion. Obviously, everyone in fashion has different takes and different opinions, so if you disagree, just leave it in the comments and explain why. I'm sure a lot of things that I say you're not going to agree with, but yeah, I just want to give my own opinion on what trends are like today. To just get it out of the way, I would say sambas are obviously a really trendy thing right now. Everyone's wearing them. You see it all over your Instagram Explore page, all over TikTok. Yeah, honestly, at this point, I would say, especially in fashion, it's definitely more popular than even the Air Force One. And me personally, I'm actually happy about that. I think the samba is a really nice shoe and a really nice silhouette to wear outfits with. I've been wearing sambas for a while, and for them to become mainstream, I honestly don't mind. I just think it looks really good, and more people are starting to look good in those outfits, and that's a win for everyone. I do think they're here to stay, and honestly, all Adidas has to do is just keep making the regular white and black GR pairs and just pumping them out of the factory. As long as they don't overdo the collaborations, oversaturate the market with a bunch of different colors and everything, I think people are going to be loving them. But even then, they've been releasing so many different colors and materials, and people are just buying them and wearing them. So yeah, we'll see how long this trend lasts, but in my opinion, I think it's here to stay for at least another year, and I'm happy with it. I also think part of its staying power is that it's very similar to the German army trainer. Yeah, that's always been a pretty timeless shoe, and I think because the samba is so similar to it, both in silhouette and just the color blocking, it's going to be a while before the sambas go out of trend. Another thing that I think is not going to be gone anytime soon are wide and baggy pants. These have been in trend for a while, and skinny pants, skinny jeans, I just think are not going to be in trend for a long time, just because people care much more for proportions nowadays than they used to. Slim jeans or skinny pants can be pretty flattering, but wide pants also do the same thing, especially with proportions. I think they fill out your silhouette, even if you're skinny. I just think wide silhouettes cater to making proportions so much nicer. You can easily cut your body into thirds, and you can also just look a lot taller wearing wide-fitting pants. It's just a trend right now, and I don't see it going out of trend for a while with how much we're prioritizing proportions. I would definitely say that we're in the age of proportions over graphics. A few years ago, especially with streetwear and graphic tees, graphics were all the rage, and what really made your outfit stand out is if you had a certain graphic or text on your shirt. But I think that's really dying out now. It's almost more of an if you know, you know thing, because the clothing clearly has no logos or no big branding. But if you know a little bit about fashion, you'll know, oh, that's from Carhartt, or that's from Adidas, or that's a popular leather jacket from this brand or something like that. It's sort of like the branding is there even though there's no branding. And because of that, the outfits look a lot cleaner, but you're still able to flex or show a little bit that you know what you're wearing and you're into what you're wearing. So I think that's another thing that I really like about the current trends. Proportions have taken over, and I think overall it's just better for fashion that we care more about these proportions than what's actually branded on our clothes. And in the same way, I think it's got us caring more about the quality of our clothes and materials rather than just what it looks like. I think those are all great things for the hobby and great things for people to start prioritizing overall. And on the note of proportions, I also think cropped things are here to stay. Cropped clothing in general has become more and more popular, especially with guys. It's always been popular with girls, but with guys especially, I think because we're prioritizing proportions now, we're starting to realize that if you wear a crop top, or not a straight crop top, but you know what I mean, a more cropped piece of clothing, and you also wear wider pants on the bottom, then you really start getting into really nice proportions, and you just look so much taller, so much nicer. And yeah, I think cropped things are also nice because you can DIY that on your own or just go to a tailor and make something cropped even if it's not. I think cropping is great for fashion in general just because it allows us to care more about the fit and personality of the garment. What I mean by this is that we can each tailor the clothing to better fit our personal tastes and our personal bodies. I even did this recently on a fleece that I had. Yeah, so we got this fleece right here that I got off Grailed initially. Probably paid a little bit too much for it, to be honest. But yeah, it was very long when I first got it, but I did this thing where it's sort of like a fake hem. Like, honestly, I should probably just properly hem this, but I was lazy, so I just took some safety pins and pinned up the inside material, so it has a much nicer cropped fit. I'll throw a picture up of me wearing it, so you guys get a sense of what it looks like on body. But yeah, I really like how I turned this piece of clothing that honestly I probably wouldn't wear just because it was so long into something that I really want to wear now. I think this general trend of altering our clothes before we consider throwing them out or giving them away is much better for both the environment but also our personalization and showing off our personal style. When we consider the alteration of clothes by either fading, distressing, releasing the hem, cropping it like I mentioned, or anything like that, it really allows us to consider keeping the clothes rather than just throwing them out. And by personalizing it, we're making it more likely that we'll wear it ourselves. It just helps us individualize ourselves and personalize the clothing to our liking, which is ultimately what fashion's about. All these mini DIY things that people are doing, like their own sewing or even making their own clothes, I think they're all really great for the hobby, and I'm happy to see more people get into it. So to start getting into a brand that I think is really going to start popping off, if it hasn't already, honestly, is asics. Asics has always been influential in the fashion world, and now's their time to really start entering the trends. It started already happening with Kiko Asics. Basically, Kiko Kostadanov, he's a designer that's already very popular in like the smaller fashion community. He released his own collabs with Asics, and those have become really popular and really desirable in the aftermarket. But I think asics has even more room to grow. Recently they've had some collabs with Jound, I think with the Gel Kayano, and I think the Gel Kayano itself has a lot of room to grow in terms of its trendiness and people recognizing it. I think the quality is really good for the price, and even right now, the ability to get them is so easy. If you just go on ASICS website, you're gonna be able to find tons of GRs with actually really nice colorways, and a lot of them even on sale, and no one really is buying them right now. So I think one model that is gonna start becoming really popular is the Gel Kayano 14. Again, yeah, I just think it's a really comfortable shoe made of good materials, and it's very versatile, and those are all things that aren't new to trends. Another model I think ASICS can capitalize on more is the Gel Light 3. It's already popular in a smaller net of people in like a sneaker and fashion community. It still has room to become more mainstream. Again, it's just a more comfortable, iconic silhouette, and I think with so many different colors and materials that they use for it, and the fact that it also has like a unique tongue design and other aspects of it that make it more unique, I think once this shoe starts hitting the explore pages, people are going to start hopping on that trend as well. On that same note of ASICS becoming more popular, I also think Hoka is a brand that'll become more popular. It's already a brand that's relatively popular, but I just think it has even more room to grow. I think it's going to be the next Salomon. Their running shoes have been pretty trendy recently, like the Hoka Clifton and other running models with like the really big sole. I think people are also sleeping a bit on like the more rugged or not extraterrestrial, but like, yeah, more like trail running shoes. I think that's what they are. Like the Hoka Tour is one that I've had my eyes on for a while. Again, it's like a quality product from a quality brand that makes actual performance products. And once people start realizing that, you know, they're not going crazy resale and they're actually good quality products, they have an established name, people are gonna start wearing them more and more. On the other hand, I think New Balance is starting to die out a bit. It had a really strong couple years, but at the same time, I think they slightly overdid it with the number of collabs they've done. I mean, there are only so many pastel-colored Kith collabs and Joe Freshgoods collabs that you can do before people start getting tired of them. Yeah, I just think there are so many silhouettes and colorways from New Balance that it's just overwhelming. In reality, it's more of just the same of what we've seen already. Not to say at all that I think New Balance is dead. I love New Balance personally. I only recently came to realize how good their materials are, how long they've actually been stylish. So I'm still gonna be wearing them and I still love them, but I just don't think it's as trendy as it used to be. And part of it is because of its oversaturation. Another thing I want to talk about are AirPods Max. So obviously headphones in general have been really popular as a trend. Of course, people always wear headphones and are always going to wear headphones because people like listening to music. It's pretty nice to wear as an accessory as well. Especially with the AirPods Max, it'll be interesting to see because I believe that Apple is coming out with a new version of the AirPods Max pretty soon. And I think it's kind of funny that I almost see it as a fashion piece coming out, because that's how influential AirPods Max have been in TikTok trends and just trends in general. People legitimately wear it as like an accessory in their outfit, and I'm waiting to see what it will look like when it comes out, and I wonder how much effort they put into the design. I'll be kind of disappointed, honestly, if the new AirPods Max have the exact same design but just better internals. I'd rather them have like a different design, and I'm curious to see if that new design will be adopted as well by the fashion community. But yeah, in terms of headphones in general, I think they're here to stay for sure. I always love wearing headphones to work and just when I'm out and about. And I do think it generally does add to an outfit if you are missing an accessory. Another thing is that for me, I personally think that whenever I wear headphones, it kind of messes up my hair. Comment down below if you think the same way. I don't know, I feel like I'm the only one that thinks this way, but multiple times it's made me think maybe it's just better to have short hair, then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Another thing that's come up as really trendy recently is like this Vans chunky shoe. I don't know the exact name of the model, but you'll probably know what I mean if you've been scrolling TikTok recently. In my eyes, it's basically just an SB Dunk. It just has a fat tongue and a wide silhouette, like chunky silhouette. So I'm not sure why it's so trendy other than the fact that it's a new brand doing basically the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about it. I think it's a pretty fast trend. It's gonna die out because I think eventually people are gonna realize it's just more of the same. The Dunks themselves are already kind of dead. So onto the topic of workwear. Personally, I really love workwear in terms of like the Carhartt, like Detroit jacket, and Carhartt double knees, Dickies A74, all those things. I feel like they actually mesh really well into the functional aspect of fashion, where obviously we're not people who are, you know, putting 40-50 hours of physical work a week, but it's nice to have these durable clothes that actually have a purpose, and it's not about just form, it's also about function. I think that's what's really cool about workwear. And also one thing that caters to workwear is the fact that a lot of their clothes are cropped, because it's actually for functionality, so that people who are working, they can, I guess, move their torso. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I think it's also a nice aspect about workwear is that it's actually very functional. But at the same time, I do think it's a little bit dying out now in the mainstream, which I'm fine with because I love it for what it is and I'm gonna keep wearing it. And I'm glad that it's not as super trendy as it used to be. But I do think in general, it's going to be here to stay. People are always going to be wearing workwear because of its functionality. If it was just how it looked, it would be a different story, but I like that it's actually genuinely durable clothing and that people can wear it for a long time. Another thing that's dying out is streetwear. And I don't mean that in that streetwear is dead completely, because of course streetwear is always going to be alive. And it's actually, I think, the heartbeat of fashion in a lot of ways, because it's generally more attainable price-wise, and it's easy for people to dress because it's not so much about proportions. I think it's more just about the style of things you're wearing and the materials and the brands. But what I mean when I say that it's sort of dead is that people aren't just wearing like super sneakerhead shoes and Dunks and Jordans like they used to. Like I said before, I think current fashion trends point more towards proportions and graphics, and that's just not what caters to streetwear as much. I think the ways in which streetwear is influential is sort of the more baggy silhouettes, baggy shirts, baggy pants, hats, accessories, skate shoes. Those are all involved in the fashion trends currently, and I think they always will be. But as a whole, I think people aren't wearing streetwear as much. And I think part of it, I might be wrong, but I think part of it might be the fact that our generation, especially the one that grew up on TikTok and Instagram, is getting a little bit older. And I think streetwear generally is more of a younger generation thing. I think once you get older, you start thinking, I need to wear colored shirts or more dressed up things, and streetwear is just, it's not really catered for that. I know there are some colored things and some things you can dress up more, but for the most part, it's definitely a more casual style. And I think as our generation grows up a bit, when I say our generation, I mean people born in like the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I think those people are starting to realize, myself included, that once you start getting into your like late 20s and 30s, it's a little weird to still be wearing streetwear like religiously every single day. Of course I can still wear it here and there, but yeah, I think that's partially also why it's not so much of the mainstream right now. One thing that has become more trendy and I actually really like are leather jackets. I don't own a leather jacket myself, but I think there are smaller brands coming out with their own personal style leather jackets, and I just really love that. Again, leather jackets can be more cropped, so it caters to proportions. It's less about branding, it's more about materials, quality, how the materials are sourced, the intention and functionality behind the jacket as well. So I think leather jackets are here to stay, and I'm glad that they've become more trendy because I think it's a more dressed up, but also just more interesting piece of clothing to wear. Another thing are jorts, especially with the spring coming up, people are going to want to wear shorts. I always hate that in the warmer weather, it's really hard to layer or wear longer pants because it's just so hot outside. Yeah, I think jorts are a convenient way around that. Yeah, I don't know, like 5 years ago, if you asked me to wear jorts, I'll be like, that looks so stupid, or like it's totally off trend. But people are starting to wear them more and more now, and I think it doesn't just look like you're wearing them ironically, it actually genuinely looks good. I'm still looking for a pair of jorts myself, so if you guys have any good recommendations, please let me know. But yeah, I think jorts are starting to trend up, and I'm really happy about it. Another thing that's definitely getting more and more popular are Air Max 95s. I don't own a pair of Air Max 95s, and I've actually liked them since the very beginning of the time I like sneakers, but I just never pulled the trigger on them. Of course, Air Max 95s have always been a classic silhouette, and people have always been wearing them, but I'm seeing them pop up more and more now. I think there was a recent collab, like a Cortez collab. It's like a mostly green version of the shoe. Yeah, I think all it'll take for this trend to really pop off is have a couple people or brands collaborate and just make some really nice designs for the Air Max 95, and that's all it'll take for people to start wearing them more and more. The reason I think it's going to become more trendy is because it's a pretty chunky shoe, but also a very comfortable shoe. I just think chunky shoes are very popular right now, and it's also a little bit more of a rugged looking shoe. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but if you look at the silhouette, I feel like you'll know what I mean. It goes well with cargos, it can go with jeans, even with shorts, I think it would look fine. So I think Air Max 95s are on the come up for sure. One bigger overall trend that I wanted to really talk about is this concept of smaller brands taking over. So obviously big brands have been at the forefront of pushing fashion and fashion trends and what people like. I think Balenciaga was taking the reins for a while with their oversized all black fits, especially with Kanye pushing them. And yeah, I think bigger brands in general had the say in terms of what trend goes and what doesn't. But I like that with recent times, especially with the advent of like TikTok advertising and Instagram promotion, we can get a lot of smaller brands and individually curated brands that are getting more popularity and are also getting the advertisement and attention that they need to succeed. There are brands like Oré, No Maintenance, Vujade. There are lots of other brands. I can put them up here to show you. But there are so many individual brands run by individual creatives, not by a big company, and I think that's really nice for our culture just because it allows people to get closer to the clothes and understand why and how and like the inspiration behind why they were made. Generally the materials are much better quality, and of course the clothes are going to be just as expensive as even luxury or designer clothes because they're made individually, and the people can't get great margins on making like thousands of pieces. They can only make 50 or 100. But because of this, again, more intention and effort is put into each piece of clothing, and you're more likely to be buying the clothing because you genuinely like it and you genuinely like how it was designed and the person behind it, rather than just how it looks or the fact that it's trendy. I just think it's more interesting and more intentional and overall better, even sustainability wise, for the fashion community to be supporting these smaller brands. And low-key at the same time, because they're doing their own thing and they're not making huge margins, they're low-key undercutting designer brands in some way. Yeah, I think it's really nice that these fashion brands can have more say in the trends and also be able to succeed because of social media advertising and just that overall influence. Recently, I also unboxed this hat from Vujade, so I guess while we're on the topic, I can just show that. I guess if you don't know, it was started by a YouTuber initially. Well, I'm not sure if he was initially a YouTuber, but he makes YouTube videos and he started his own brand from, I think, Japan. Yeah, I'm a really big fan of like just the pieces that they've been coming out with recently, and also just their whole design language and everything that they do and their vlogs and the videos. So yeah, basically I got this hat. Yeah, it's literally just a regular, baseball cap. You're pretty deep in the fashion rabbit hole if you are spending way more money than a dad hat is worth on a brand that most people don't even know about. Yeah, there's a tag, Vujade. It's kind of like a play on deja vu, if that wasn't already obvious. So I'm actually low-key an idiot. I didn't know that Vujade is actually a term, like a proper term. Yeah, I won't explain it now because I'm probably horrible at explaining it, but if you look it up on Wikipedia and read into it, it's actually really interesting, the meaning of it, and I think that honestly adds even deeper levels to the brand and what it actually means. Actually it looks fine in the video, but this is literally fitting like it's a baby's hat or something. If it's so small. I mean, I have a big head, honestly. Also, I have pretty long hair right now, so it makes sense that it's being difficult, but in real life it looks kind of stupid. Right now it's actually, okay, it's actually already growing on me. It's not that bad, but yeah, anyway, I like the logo a lot. It's a play on the sort of DVD logo that it's kind of nostalgic for me now just because I grew up on DVDs. In terms of the build quality, it's actually pretty good. Better be good for its price, but yeah, hopefully it wears in fine. And another topic I could talk about is AI used as inspiration. Recently, AI has been all over the news with ChatGPT and how powerful it could be in especially art, creating art. The current power of AI is actually, I think, going to be pretty influential in fashion. Not because it's going to make its own clothing per se. I think a lot of the stuff that's coming out is just like, I do think there's going to be some clothing brands that are going to make, oh, like this is a brand fully designed by AI. And all these clothes were designed by AI. Like that'd be pretty cool, but I don't think that's realistic. What I do think is realistic though, is people using AI as inspiration. Of course, all the time we go on Instagram, we go on Pinterest, we go on TikTok to find more fashion inspiration about silhouette, colors, proportions, materials, all these things, even cultural things. And I think the same goes for AI. I think there are a lot of interesting things that can come up from AI that humans would not even think to consider. And just by seeing those things, I think artists and creatives can think more outside of the box when it comes to designing and making their clothes. That's where I personally think AI is going to make the most impact, not in designing clothes themselves, but sort of giving inspiration to these creatives. And hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully we're not taken over by AI in the future. The last thing I want to talk about is this trend that I've been seeing of like old money. I've seen it mostly on TikTok, but yeah, I don't really personally get it. I don't really get the appeal of kind of dressing like you're older, like you have a lot of money. I do get like the kind of look they're going for, but at the same time, I've never looked at older people with lots of money and think, oh, they dress well. I've always thought it was just, they're just buying nice brands and like nice quality clothes, but they never really curate a nice outfit necessarily. I guess there's potential in making nice outfits out of those clothing, but yeah, me personally, I just have no interest. So yeah, that was all the topics that I had for today's video. Let me know in the comments if I missed any big trends. I'm sure I did. I was brainstorming for this video over the course of a couple days. So I think I did cover a good amount of the trends that exist today, but of course there are way more that I didn't cover. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about certain trends that I missed, certain trends that you think are gonna start blowing up soon. Oh, and one last thing. One trend that I forgot to mention that I really do think is gonna start having an impact is selvage denim in general. And I didn't mention in the video, but actually right now, every day while I'm at home, I'm starting to wear these Uniqlo selvage denim that I got for legit, I think like 50 bucks. And yeah, recently I've really fallen in love with denim and how it wears over time and how, yeah, you can really individualize your own jeans by wearing them your own way and washing them the right times. So yeah, I think that's another thing that's really underrated about selvage denim is how the individual wearer can really have their own unique aspects of it. And I think the honeycombing and whiskering that happens on selvage denim just looks really, really nice. It's not something that I would have appreciated before I got into fashion, but now that I'm into it, I think it just looks so good. Yeah, I think that's one big thing that has yet to hit the mainstream. I feel like it will eventually once people realize, especially at Uniqlo, that you can buy like nice selvage denim for like around $50. But yeah, that's another thing that I think is going to trend up just because of its attention to detail. I think, again, it's about individualism. It's about the materials and intention behind the piece of clothing. And once people wake up to that, I think they'll realize that selvage denim definitely falls in that category. And it's a really nice way to be both sustainable, but also really personal with the clothes that you wear.